Hi, this is Doug from Dynamic Computing, and welcome to episode 44 of 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast, the AmiWest 2019 report. The other weekend, I drove 13 hours from Tucson, Arizona to Sacremento, California to AmiWest 2019. Now, AmiWest is one of North America's longest running Amiga-centric shows, beginning back in the 90s. I think it's been going on for 22, 23 years now. I've heard of it even back in the day in the 90s when I was heavily into the Amiga scene. I remember hearing about AmiWest and seeing their ads in some magazines and such. And I always thought it'd be great to make a trip out there, but I never did. I did hit a couple of Ami Expos back in the day, back in the 90s. They were a lot of fun. So about 3 months ago, I decided to try and make it out to AmiWest this year. Not only to meet new people and support my channel, but also to support the Amiga community. The past couple of years, we've all seen the Amiga community really start to grow and flourish even more again and get some renewed vigor, and I want to continue to support that. So what did I think of the AmiWest Expo? Well, thumbs up, it was fantastic. Brian and his crew did a fantastic job of putting it together and a fantastic job of keeping things organized and bringing some real Amiga luminaries into the scene. Now, full disclosure, I had heard that AmiWest has shifted over towards more of an Amiga 1 and Amiga OS 4.1 centric exhibition, and that's okay. And as you guys know, I'm really not into that scene at all. I'm more of an Amiga Classic kind of guy, but that's okay. They'd been reporting that they were going to have a day dedicated to classic machines on Friday. So I thought, well, I'll be sure to be there on Friday, and I'll just see what it's all about. The good news is all of the Amiga 1 and Amiga OS 4.1 people are really great people. They have a lot of love for the Amiga Classic line, and I think with a little bit of effort we can bring the two groups together and make a more powerful Amiga community. Let's chat for a moment about what I brought to AmiWest this year, because I did buy a table and I wanted to show off some of my cool things. First, Stephen Jones' Checkmate 1500 Plus case. I brought that to the show, and Stephen was kind enough to send it out a few weeks early to me so I would make sure to have it at the show. Now, many of you have seen my Checkmate 1500 Plus video that I did a few weeks ago. If not, take a look at it. You'll enjoy it. And I'll tell you what, that case was a big hit. Dozens and dozens of people wanted to see it. Some had never heard of it before. Others had heard of it but never seen it. And I would think that if maybe a dozen people don't order his case just based on coming to this show and taking a look at my equipment, I'd be really surprised. I think Stephen's case was a big hit at the show. Next, I spent a little time with the Romulator. People really enjoyed looking at the Romulator. Unfortunately, Jeff and Aaron from Amiga on the Lake, even though they were co-sponsoring the show this year, weren't able to make it. I was really looking forward to meeting them, and I'm sorry they couldn't make it. I would guess that at least 10 people, maybe more, were really, really excited about the Romulator and said that if it was available today, they would order it, and some people even wanted to order two. And I'm really tired of fielding questions about it. As soon as they get it up on their website for sale, I will let you guys know, hey guys, get it up on your website for sale and you'll sell them. Next, I had my lovely Amiga 1200 on display. Now, we had some great games, including Graham Cowie's brand new Rygar port, which was a big hit. People loved that. We also had some demos of the new double-sided games release of Black Dawn Rebirth. That was, people enjoyed doing that. They enjoyed playing the first level or two of that. And just for good measure, put a little bit of Deluxe Pac-Man up there too. That's always a big hit. Lastly, I had my Amiga 2000 on display there. Now, I love my 2000, but for some reason, my time-based corrector was not cooperating with me that day, and it just wouldn't sync my two cameras up. Here at the office, boom, they sync up just fine. Take it to a show, they decide they're going to roll and scroll. So I really didn't do too much with my Amiga 2000 until the last day when I ended up taking it apart and opening up on a table, and then people loved coming around and looking inside it and poking around. So it was still a big hit. On Friday, I spent the day chatting with new friends and visitors to my booth and to other booths nearby, and I also live streamed a presentation of my 10-minute Amiga Retrocast Amiga Art Contest hosted by Pixel Vixen and I a few weeks ago. I went over all of the pictures that had won, all the pictures in the show, gave a little talk about them, and I think people enjoyed it, and that ended up being live streamed. Now, I also got to meet Robert Bernardo, who's been one of my heroes in the 8-bit community and the Amiga community to a lesser extent for a while now. He's put on some great shows, and he's also a very strong member of the community. He did all the video work for all the live streaming, which was great, and Bill Bilsario did all of the work on the toaster. Now, another person who was there on Friday was Ron Nicholson. He is one of the guys who actually worked on the Amiga with J Minor. His signature is right on the case, just a little bit below J Minor's and the dog's paw print. You'll find Ron Nicholson's signature. He's a great guy. Really enjoyed talking to him. He gave some nice presentations. I wish I would have gotten an autograph from him, but he didn't come back on Saturday. Now, Friday night was a huge amount of fun. I had driven 14 hours, and I had not had any sleep for over 24 hours beforehand. Did not stop me on Friday night from going out and hanging out with some of the guys from the show. We went to a nice Italian place for dinner, and it was at that dinner I really got to know Adam Spring, who I'll talk about more in a little bit, who's providing many of these pictures, and then Alex Perez from Inertial Computing of SCSI to SD fame, and Trevor Dickinson from A-Eon. Got to know him quite well. He's a great guy. Really enjoyed spending time with him. We enjoyed some great food and some great drinks, and then in the middle of dinner I glanced up. There's Mike Bagliana from Cloanto/CA Acquisitions, the current owner of the Amiga stuff. No idea in all the world he was going to show up at AmiWest, but there he was. And the cool thing was, he recognized me. He's like, "Hey, Doug, how you doing?" He and I have chatted before on the phone. We did an interview over the phone, and we correspond via email. But I didn't necessarily expect me to, him to recognize me right off the bat, so that was kind of cool. And I'll tell you what, Mike is every bit as nice a guy as you've heard he is. Just really a nice guy. After dinner, we all went back to the hotel meeting room, and Trevor had a few beverages brought in for us all to enjoy. And it was during these libations that Alex Perez brought up the issue with the code for one of the compilers that's currently supporting 68K instructions. They were about to upgrade it, and there was nobody who was going to upgrade the 68,000 code. So that meant we're going to have one of our last compilers unavailable to us and not updated. Now, there was a $5,000 bounty out there for somebody to get paid to do this programming, and it was about $1,500 short at the time. So what we decided to do, we all just pitched in. We threw in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, whatever we could afford, and we tried to close the gap on that remaining bounty. We came up with about $500. There's a group of people here who contributed. And then Trevor personally came up with a balance to pay off the last part of the bounty, which was like $1,378. So really great. It was nice to be part of something important like that. The best thing is, he donated all the money in AmiWest's name, not in his personal name. So AmiWest got all the credit for it, and I thought that was really cool. Now, shenanigans were in full swing that evening. And here we've got Michael and Trevor. There seems to be some dollars, some currency trading hands. I don't really recall who was paying off who, but Now, moving on to Saturday, I was busy all day long talking to dozens of people and had very little time to take any pictures. Thankfully, Adam Spring, who I mentioned before, and here's his lovely mug right here, from the Remotely Interested podcast. Adam Spring from the Remotely Interested podcast. I'll put the link down here. He does a podcast with Ravi Abbott, who you all know from the Retro Hour with Dan Woods. Took a ton of pictures and gave me permission to use them. Thanks, Adam. I really enjoyed getting to know you. Let's take a look at some of the other exhibitors. Now, Alex Perez here of Inertial Computing had a great display, and he was selling the SCSI to SD version 5.1 and version 6. I picked up a version 6, put it in my Amiga 4000. I love it. Thank you, Alex. And I covered those SCSI to SDs in a video a few months back. I'll link to that in the description. Alex is a really great guy. He also had some of his other products for sale, and he was selling some things from Amiga Kit. Matthew from Amiga Kit couldn't make it this year, so he sent a box of goodies down, and Alex helped to sell those, and that was great. I do recommend you checking out Alex's website. He has more than just the SCSI to SD for sale, and he's a stand-up guy. Thanks, Alex. Now, Jerry Gray and his son had a few Amigas on display, and they were holding a contest Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Friday, it was River Raid Reloaded, Saturday was Trap Runner, and Sunday was Mod Surfer. And it was a contest to get the high score, and the winner would get these cool 3D statues that were printed based on the game. That was really kind of neat. Now, I was beaten on Sunday by 0.3%. 0.3% in Mod Runner I was beaten. So I was second place. Next year, Brian. I'm coming at you. Next year. We had some fantastic speakers throughout Saturday, which Bill Borsari did a great job live streaming the stuff, and he was actually editing it live on a video toaster, and Robert Bernardo, who I mentioned before, was actually doing the filming. I did a presentation about the Amiga Classic used in the modern day, in which, right in the middle of the presentation, my Amiga 1200 decided to guru, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. So I enjoyed that. That was fun. Most of the presentations are available on Bill's YouTube channel, which I'll link below, and I'll also have a link in the description. I recommend you take a look at those. Now, the one about my Amiga 1200 and a few other Saturday ones currently are not available because of a copyright hit, which was my fault. Me. I did it. So I take the blame for that one, but hopefully he'll get that cleared up with Warner Brothers. Now, one of the things I was really looking forward to was meeting a couple of my Twitter friends, Eric Nelson and Cody Hoffman from Pixel Gaiden podcast. Listen to Pixel Gaiden. It's a lot of fun. You'll really enjoy that. Here's a picture of the guys and me and the guys. We didn't have as much time as I would have liked to hang out, but we did get a chance to share a beer together and got a chance to chat and get to know each other. You really need to check out their podcast. Some of the early ones are quite long, like 4 or 5 hours long, but you break them into segments and you'll be fine. Now, true story, on my 14-hour trip from Tucson to Sacramento, I got through episode 3, episode 4, and part of episode 5 in a 14-hour trip. So yeah, they're long podcasts, but they're well worth it. A-Eon and Trevor Dickinson had a very large booth with several X5000 machines on display. There were also a couple of pre-release Tabor boards, and here's a picture of one right here in a really funky case that Steve Soley put together. It's really a cool case. The Tabor is real. I've seen it running, and it should be released very soon. Trevor Dickinson said they're starting out with 5 pre-release boards for testing before they do the final run of motherboards that will be for sale soon. The number he dropped was about $450 for the board, which is much less than previous boards, and it should fit perfect in Stephen Jones' Checkmate case. So that will make a great combination right there, if you ask me. Check out A-Eon's website for more details on the Tabor board and what's coming out. And I'm working with Trevor, and I'm going to try to get a demo board in so I can get it installed, get it Amiga OS 4.1 up and running, and do a full-fledged review in the next couple of months of the Tabor board. Now, the SACC users group, who actually host the show, they get all the credit for putting everything together. The show, the promotion, the banquet, they did a great job. They had a big booth with several tables where they were selling a plethora of Amiga goodies, including my perfect sound digitizer I got for my brand spanking new Amiga 1000 that I bought from Brian, the host of the show. This thing is gorgeous. I will have several A1000 Adventure Series shows coming up on this one, but I'm just in love with this. Here's a Ham 6 image here being displayed right on my Amiga 1000 from a picture I took. I'm having fun. Now, after I bought the Amiga 1000, Trevor here helped me open it up. We had a great time talking about it. And I decided right then and there that my Amiga 1000 box, even though it was in good condition, I'm going to have as many Amiga luminaries sign that as I possibly can. I've already got Trevor's. I've already got Mike Bagliana's on there. Sadly, Ron Nicholson was already gone by the time I got the Amiga 1000, so I couldn't have him sign my box. But over the years, I'm going to get this thing filled up with people from the community. Saturday night, they hosted a banquet. And there was some fantastic food, including a great vegetarian lasagna. Thanks, Brian. There was a panel of 5 people who spoke about Amiga OS 4.1 and the progress of it and the history and the future of it, which was great. I recommend looking that up on Bill Bersari's YouTube channel. Now, Michael Bagliana also donated a free copy of Amiga Forever and 64 Forever to everybody who attended the banquet with a ticket. So that was really great of Mike to do. Thank you. After the party, we don't want to talk about that. Let's just say there were libations and we had a great time and it lasted till 2 in the morning. But the less said about that night, the better. Sunday was a bit of a calmer day. Started out with Trevor Dickinson and Steve Soley with a nice presentation on Amiga OS 4.1 and some of the new modules coming out for it and some of the new things available for it. Look that up online. I spent the day chatting with people in the community and making plans with Scott Culkin, who's a new friend who lives just up the road in Phoenix, where he and I are going to put together an Amiga users group for Phoenix. So we'll be working on that over the next couple of months. Towards the end of the show, the SACC group asked me if I had any room in my car for a few boxes. I ended up filling up my car with like 8 boxes of manuals, books, everything, magazines, all spanning from about 1985 up to the early 90s, including some really great original Amiga 1000 documentation that documents intuition, the hardware. I'm going to do a whole series just on those books. It's really great. I also ended up buying a nice 64C from a guy named Zachary, who's a upstanding guy, and haven't turned it on yet, but he showed it to me working, and I'll be doing some episodes of the Chickenhead Chronicles on my new toy. So what are my final opinions about AmiWest? Was it worth the 14-hour drive? Would I do it again? The answer is a resounding yes. I met some of my heroes. I made tons of new friends and contacts at the show that I'll probably know forever. I also had a nice long chat with Brian, the host of the show. He is a great guy, really enjoyed it, and I fully intend on helping support AmiWest next year by helping promote it and trying to bring new blood and new people into the show. It really is worth it to help build the community, and it's important to get the Amiga 1 crowd and the classic Amiga crowd just a little bit closer together, so we're not 2 completely different groups. We're all in this together. I'm going to enjoy using Amiga OS 4.1 on my Amiga Forever installation, and who knows, I'll probably end up buying a Tabor board and getting that set up, but I'll still have all the love in the world for my classics. I think we can all work together. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my report on AmiWest 2019. I really did enjoy it, and I hope you did too. Make sure to like and subscribe. Please leave your comments below. Tell me if you were at the show. Talk about it. Tell me things that I missed, other aspects of the show I didn't cover, because I was busy the whole time. I didn't see everything. Follow me on Twitter at 10mark1. And until next time, this is Doug from 10 Minute Amiga Retrocast, signing out.